Upon watching Kakushigoto for the first time, I found myself filled with a sense of warmth deep in my heart. Probably because at its core, this series is about a father trying to make the best life he can for his daughter. That selfless act of love when she's the only thing in his life that means anything to him. He's willing to go to such great lengths as working away from home, hiding his line of work, and even hiring people to keep his personal and professional life separate, all for the sake to keep a happy family unit. Sayonara Zetsubo Sensei is a series about a clinically depressed teacher often attempting suicide. He surrounds himself with a quirky cast of female students all suffering from severe mental issues and who all find themselves hopelessly in love with him. The series is spent spurning their affections due to how morally reprehensible it would be, but also due to the fact it's clear their relationships would end in tragedy. What do these two series have in common? They were both penned as gag manga by the author Koji Kumita, with about a decade between their start dates. 10 years of growth as a creative and a person. And with that, let's talk about Kakushigoto, Sayonara Zetsubo Sensei, and how one author goes from one extreme to another. The setting painted in Sayonara Zetsubo Sensei is one of meaninglessness. The characters in this series live, love, despair, and die, only to reset in the next scene to square one, while serving a narrative purpose to not actually kill off the main cast mere seconds into their introduction. It allows the story to poke fun at darker concepts, like death, depression, and social isolation. This conveys a specific philosophical ideology buried in the pitch, reflecting on an entire worldview. As a teacher, Nozomu fails to find anything deeper than superficial commercial ends in the world, lamenting on late-stage capitalism, social sloth, and whatever quirk of culture captures his eye in each segment. Nothing in this series is off limits, from corporations, immigration, attitudes, politicians, and metaphysical concepts anthropomorphized into characters that can be interacted with. A setting so willing to tear modern culture, media, politics, and society to shreds invokes the spirit of postmodernism. That being the rejection of grand narratives and ideology that reflect the post-war world centered around extreme economic growth and technological advancement. While Nozomu would, at first glance, embody nihilism due to his innate lack of faith in anything, going hand in hand with general skepticism towards people's motivations, such as his worry about Mount Fuji being bought for advertising space, or crushing his students' hopes by pointing out how unrealistic they are, it would just seem that he doesn't believe in anything. But what the franchise itself is telling us, as viewers, is more focused on disillusionment over the world itself. Nozomu as a character may be a nihilist, but the deeper message of this series as a whole is that of irony. The standard capitalistic ideal placed upon us in society, that we, as consumers, will work at jobs and buy products to fill our homes and lives. That we are all happy, hard workers and society itself functions perfectly fine. The series points to these perceived norms and says they're flat-out lies, and revels in showing how flippantly it can disgrace these systems in place. But how does that relate to the later work in Kakushigoto? While the first series was a dark comedy, Kakushigoto is a pure slice of life focusing on a time in a mangaka's life as he tries to raise his daughter alone. Having dealt with the loss of his wife, and continuing to cope as he watches his daughter grow up before his very eyes, the series presents an optimistic and family-centered approach to its message. Rather than reveling and taking potshots at society, culture, media, and politics, Kakushigoto focuses on career, family, and internal struggles, instead deciding to rebuff the superficial for deeper connections. It poses personal moral questions for its cast to work through, which is an immediate shift in the stagnancy from Kumita's previous work. Why does Kakushi hide his career from his daughter? Should his family get a dog? Is his daughter lonely? While mundane, this shows a clear shift to more character-driven narratives, with progress in development. This focus on the immediate, as opposed to the macro, is but a small part, showing how these smaller issues impact people, how individuals deal with them, and improve their lives in reflection demonstrates a positive trend. finding actual sincere meaning and value in institutions like family, work, society, and the larger economic system. Meeting goals at work to get time off to spend with your family on a trip is the epitome of normal, but also antithetical to the sort of postmodern philosophy we just got in Sayonara Zetsubo Sensei. As a framing device, the series flashes forward to Hime discovering her dad's secret. She finds a house filled with her father's drawings and realizes how she's been taking advantage of his kindness all these years by living blissfully ignorant. This reinforces the idea of connections and meaning, even when confronted with her father having to hide this from her due to societal pressures and expectations. When she meets him again and he realizes she knows what he does for a living, it's treated as a moment of release for both of them. He's scared, but ultimately happy that she finally knows. That's honestly something Sayonara Zetsubo Sensei would have lambasted as cowardly, that hiding behind secrets destroys relationships. But what we find in this series is that it's actually very healthy to keep relationships functioning. It would have been easy to have the protagonist stuck in the past, and part of him is, as he's continually funding an effort to find his wife years after her disappearance. The positivity is conveyed through the simple act of the series, not focusing on that heartache. Kakushi buys his daughter everything she could reasonably want, works a job that he loves that's also lucrative, and has a level of fame and commercialism due to his manga. It relishes in everything his earlier work admonished. While Kakushigoto almost feels like a direct response to Sayonara Zetsubo Sensei, I would say it isn't. With age, Kumita appears to have almost snapped out of his jaded postmodernist stupor, at least to say culture can be shallow, and while you really can't trust anyone, there's elements to society that aren't so bad. Financial security, building close relationships with friends and family, and ensuring that those close to you are happy is something worth putting up with the less savory aspects of our world for. At least that seems to be what's changed. Much like growing up from an edgy teenager to a functioning adult, this mangaka's work has shifted in mindset, and that's something worth appreciating, as it tells quite a bit about a talented creator's outlook. Hey, you made it to the end of the video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, and do all the other YouTube stuff to help the channel grow. You can also check out my Discord with a link down in the description. And if you really want to support me, you can head on over to my Patreon to pick up some extra perks like voting on what I do next. Thanks for watching.